So, what got you hooked on racing?
Back when I was about 3 years old or so, according to my parents, we didn't have cable TV then, so there were 4 or 5 things to watch, and my parents would sit down in their recliners, turn on the NASCAR race, and kind of listen to the sound of the engine until they fell asleep. When my mom would come wake me up from my mid-afternoon Sunday nap, she'd bring me down to the living room and she'd just sit me right in front of the TV where the race happened to be on. I was hooked. I stared at the TV and I heard the rumble of engines and saw the colors of all the sponsors on the cars and saw the fans in the stands, and I loved it.
Did you want to be one of those fans one day?
I certainly wanted to be one of those fans, and at first I also wanted to be a racing driver, but then I realized that my physical limitations would severely hinder that, so I kind of thought of another way to get into it, which is how I came up with the idea, I could be a sports broadcaster.
Would you have like a favorite race car driver?
I
or
certainly
team?
do. My favorite race car driver of all time, and probably for eternity, is Tony Stewart. I've gotten to see him race on numerous occasions. He's never finished any higher than fourth in a race that I've been at, though. My first live race ever was back when I was 6 in May of 2004. He had the best car of the race and led over 150 laps, but had a bad final pit stop and ended up finishing fourth. I was so crushed, 6-year-old me that night. I just love the way he drives. I consider myself a NASCAR junkie. I try not to miss a race, ever. If you don't like NASCAR or badmouth NASCAR, there's a pretty decent chance that you're not going to find me the most appealing, and I'm alright with that.
So what races have you been to? Have you gotten actual experience being in the stands, like whenever you were a kid?
I have. I've been to numerous races, but oddly enough, the best race I've ever been to isn't a NASCAR race. It's an IndyCar race. Back in March of this year, my dad, who is not one who likes to plan things, he said, we should go down to Daytona. And at first, of course, I thought, you're joking. Just don't worry, we're going down to Daytona. He said, no, we need to actually go to Daytona. We went to the Daytona 500, just he and I, on a weekend trip, and that was a blast. Spending that day with all the people who like the same things that I do in racing, and spending the day with my family up in the stands at turn 3 and just making great memories up there is something that I will never forget. I guess everybody has that one topic that they're just obsessive over, and racing is mine.